Hello, in today's video we'll show how a product owner, scrum master or team member can participate in the program increment planning with Ativo Programs for Jira. We will cover the basic functionalities, planning of stories and features, cross-team dependencies, team capacity and handy filters. Let's get started. First thing is to locate Ativo Programs. You can find it in the top navigation under Apps and then clicking on Programs. You're now in the Welcome screen. Select your program or release train in the first navigation box and then select the period or program increment in the second. The program increment is now loaded and we can go to the PI planning by clicking on this link in the bottom or by clicking on the plan navigation in the left navigation bar. So here we're inside the program plan or the program board, and what we see are the different teams. So we have Team Rabbit, Team Lion, Team Owl, etc. and the other teams. And then horizontally we have the different iterations or sprints. So we have sprint 1 till sprint 4. There's also backlog unplanned section for the stories, and there's also an unassigned section for the epics or features that are not yet planned in. Let's start with the PI planning. Let's assume that we're a member of Team Rabbit and that we want to start planning and working on feature 4. So I will drag and drop it to the backlog of our teams, which means that we're in the lead. Other teams can contribute to that feature, but we will coordinate it. We'll do the overall coordination for that feature. And I can see already that some stories are contributing to it. You see the chord. So I can drag and drop these stories to a specific sprint, so that will update the sprint. If the team is working Scrum, it will assign these stories to the correct sprint. What I can also do is I can add a filter and really focus on that feature. So I will do that by clicking on filter, clicking on epic and then clicking on the feature, and it will just show the feature. And if I click on add linked issues, it will also show the stories under it. So now I have a good view of the feature, the stories in my team, and also other stories in other teams that are contributing to this feature. So for example, Team Line is contributing to this feature and already planning a story in the third sprint. So I will finish planning it in for my team. I will, for example, put this story in the third sprint, and I will drag and drop the feature to the sprint when the feature will be delivered. So let's say it's also in sprint 3. By the way, these chords that you see, they have colors. If it's purple, it means that the dependency is respected. So this story should be done before that feature, and this story is planned before that feature. So that's okay. If a feature is depending on a story to be finished and it's in the same sprint, then the line is orange. And if a feature is depending on a story and it's in the previous sprint, so for example, this story should be finished in sprint 3, but the overall feature should be finished or is planned to be finished in sprint 2, well, you cannot finish a feature if there's a story under it open in a later sprint, so the line is red. So we went back to the full view. I will plan in another feature. Let's say we will plan in feature 5, and there's other dependencies that are on it. By the way, I can click here on view options, and then I will see the epic summary. For each story I see to which feature it's depending, so I can easily plan in all the stories from a specific feature, for example like this, and then I can plan in the feature. I can do the same for the other stories that have dependencies with teams. I can reach out to the other teams and we can plan in the dependencies. To see the detailed view of the dependencies of a specific story or issue, I can click on dependencies and it will show me the dependencies that this story has with other issues. So you see here the parent link, but I can also add blocking links or prerequisite links. So I will do that. I will add a link that blocks. Like that, for example. And I will add another prerequisite story. Like this. And it updates and shows the dependencies, and you see the lines are added here as well. As a team, you can plan in your stories according to your capacity. It can be done in mandates, in story points, or just by counting the number of tickets. So this Team Rabbit is working in story points, and if I click first on view options and then on capacity, it will show 2 numbers per per sprint. At the left hand side you see the actual load, that's of the planned in stories, total amount of story points for that sprint, and the right hand side is the capacity that you define. So for example, if this team has a velocity of 12 story points per sprint, I can put that number and it will show me, and I can differentiate and change it per sprint if I want. It will show if we're going over capacity. For example, in sprint 2 we have 17 story points actually planned in, and we only have a capacity of 12 story points. So what I can do here is drag and drop stories to other sprints so that the story points drops and we stay just below the capacity. One last tip to share is that you can have quite a lot of dependencies and chords on the board. So if I click on view options and then on show chords, you can hide the chords. If you select none, it will hide the chords, which might be easier if there's a lot of them. You could also select if you just want to see blocking dependencies, for example, or if you just want to see parent-child dependencies. That's all I got for you today. We'll cover the objectives, sprint goals and milestones in a separate video. Thanks a lot for watching and see you in the next video.